Hey there, this is Kat, and you are joining me live today, where I have a very special guest. And if you're tuning in live, please leave in the comments below, live. And if you are tuning in as a rebroadcast, then just say rebroadcast. And if you have any questions, please drop your comments below because my guest has some amazing information and she can help businesses if you're looking for funding, if you're a startup, how to develop your story and your pitch. So please join me as I welcome Donna Griffith, who is CEO and founder of Storyteller and Pitch, or Corporate Storyteller and Pitch, if I'm getting that right. She's going to clarify for me. Hey, Donna, how are you?
Hi there, Kat. Great to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great.
I'm super, super excited to have you here today because as we kick off the year, right? We kick off the year 2022. And this is a great time that I think a lot of probably startups or entrepreneurs in 2021 developed or were getting serious about their organization. And now they're thinking, funding, right? How do I grow? How do I tell my story? How do I develop my pitch? How do I
Mm.
tell my storyline? And how do I get somebody's attention?
Yes, the
So
startups' New Year's resolutions,
there
right?
you go. That's right. That's right. So give us a little background about you and your company.
hmm So it's Donna Griffit, corporate storyteller. So I'm the company, and so I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades now. I started off working with large enterprise organizations, giving trainings and working with executives on creating and delivering powerful messages that drove to business results. And then came 2008. I've been feeling a bit of deja vu for the last 2 years in certain ways, and in certain ways it's taken interesting twists and turns. But that's when I pivoted to working with startups because I identified a need. Startups were struggling to raise funding in a very shaky climate. We're not doing a very good job of it, and storytelling was starting to become a thing. And people still didn't know. Like I'd say, okay, yeah, I'm a corporate storyteller. They were like, what's that mean? You read stories. I think it's like, what? And now today, storytelling is all the buzz. So I shifted to working with startups, and the bread and butter of what we do is create investor pitch decks. I mean, they come to me whirlwind 2 hours, and they emerge with a fully scripted, fully flowing deck that gives them the story. And
Okay.
it sounds trivial, but I mean,
Yep.
every single day when I talk to founders, it's like I just can't find the words, and it's not coming out, and I know what I want to say in my head, but getting it out there and getting them to understand. And it's if you're feeling that way, you're in good company. Everyone feels that way.
Okay. Okay. So I love, love, love what you do. It kind of aligns with somewhat what we do once a business is in motion, right? Because we ask businesses, and we work with a lot of small businesses. And I think the biggest obstacle for businesses is what is your unique selling proposition, right? What is your unique selling proposition? And another obstacle for them is who is your ideal client? What is their avatar? Who are they?
Yeah.
Because the more that you can drill it down, the better. So I think what you're doing is super awesome because it just affirms what we do, right? It's affirming what we do.
I love
And so take me through exactly like who is an ideal client?
So I'll give you an example fresh from yesterday afternoon. I was working with a wonderful woman founder. I say woman just because I love working with women. We're
Yep.
working with everyone, but I'm always happy to see more and more women getting out there and flipping this ratio. And they've created an incredible device for treating autism in children,
Okay.
which is just it's mind-boggling, no pun intended, but it really is. And she said, we've made great traction and we've got these results, but it's not coming through in the funding. So she had a very technical and scientific focus, which is amazing, and as you should. but it was missing the heart and the soul, like you said, of the story. So what we did is I kind of broke things apart and inserted the stories, her personal story. So where did this come from? What inspired her and her partner to go out on this journey? And then the emotional story of the clinical trials they've done, and the parents that for the first time heard their child say, "I love you, mommy," for the first time in your early child's life. Between 2 and 6, you've never heard them communicate. And these are the moments, these are the emotions, these are the stories that make it real. And yes, you need to talk about the technology. And yes, you need to talk about the science and the FDA approvals. But the story is the human factor. And that's where people really get intrigued and captured and brought in.
Right. And so, okay, so let me just ask you a few questions around that because this is
Mhm.
really, really good. Okay, so we're going to bring back a step. So, if somebody has a product, a service, where are they in their business model? Are they in infancy? Have they tested it? Has it launched? Where are they that you're working with them?
Could be many different parts of it.
Okay.
I've worked with companies that are just kind of starting out and in a very early ideation phase. So we would start. A lot of times they just want to be able to tell the story to themselves or to potential partners, potential employees,
Yep.
all the way to companies that are getting acquisition offers. And we need to be able to create a story of why they'd be a valuable asset to add to whoever is considering acquiring them.
Okay.
So it's and then everything in between. Probably mainly it's startups raising their seed fund, the seed round, their A round, where the story really matters. Once you get beyond that, it's a lot about the numbers. But even with numbers, we need to be able to tell the story of the numbers. You don't want to just throw Excel sheets
Yep.
on slides and expect them to be like, okay, it just doesn't work. Our brains are not capable of taking in numbers and facts and figures and data. They are capable, and for thousands of years have been capable of taking in stories. And there's a science, there's a structure, there's a magic to storytelling that is thousands and thousands of years old. It's just about applying it to our modern current world.
And I agree with you because I feel like what you're basically doing, okay, is you're the observer from the outside looking in. When, because, I'm an entrepreneur, I meet with lots of entrepreneurs, and I feel like entrepreneurs are so inundated and drowned in their own environment that little things that when they first started this, right? They first started the model, they first started the business, were the keywords, were the hot buttons. And because they're so inundated in it and they are around it and they're surrounded by it, they forget these
Yes, yes,
simple
yes.
little things.
And sometimes it's just about taking them back to basics, because sometimes I'll like touch on a story, or I'll ask them about their origin story, or we'll find something and we'll create a storyline. And then they're like, you know what? This is the way we were presenting it at the very beginning. But I kind of see it as like, how sometimes you'll find in an attic a beautiful antique
Mhm.
rocking chair that's covered with like 7 coats of paint and it looks really classy. And then you start sanding away and sanding away and sanding away, and you get down to the raw, beautiful wood. And then all you have to do is polish it.
Yeah.
And somebody actually once called me the polisher of diamonds. So the polisher of diamonds, the polisher of antique rocking chairs, I'll take it. It's just about letting them shine and letting what's at the core shine through. And sometimes like you're right, we get so inundated that we forget what started us on this journey. And we've gotten feedback from this investor. Oh, why isn't that in? Or that partner. Oh, how
Yep.
come you didn't say that? And then I call it a patchwork pitch. It's like we've thrown in all these different slides and different things, and it's bloated, and it's no longer coherent. And sometimes we just need to push it all away and go back to the basics. And that, by the way, if anybody's interested, on my website, donnagriffit.com, under resources, I have my version of the ultimate cheat sheet for putting together an investor deck or a sales deck. It's basically my secret recipe. I put it out there because some people love to cook chef's recipes and some people want to come to the chef's restaurant and eat. Either way is fine with me. I believe in putting knowledge out into the world. And it's the structure, and it's
Mhm.
like the baseline for a story. And obviously, we're going to incorporate things that are special about your company or about your journey. But this gives you a really good framework that becomes transparent.
Yep.
Somebody once said, are all your pitch decks alike? You write these every day? No, obviously they're not. But just like no house is alike, but they all have a frame and a foundation, I hope. Otherwise, they're not standing. So
Exactly.
we don't walk by and say, ooh, really nice foundation they have there, right?
Exactly. Okay, so let's say that someone's tuning in now, okay?
Mhm.
Like, are so if they're tuning in and they're thinking, okay, I really need to really reevaluate my storytelling, my pitch deck, because I've tried to approach some investors and I'm getting no, no, no. Is
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
an opportunity to call you? Is that an
Oh, yeah.
opportunity for you to assess, like, okay, it could be what you're putting out there?
Yes, yes, and that's exactly what happened with this amazing founder yesterday. She had just gotten kind of lost in the weeds and wasn't understanding why everybody was like, "Great job! This is amazing. What you're doing is great," but not getting the yeses. It doesn't
Yep.
make any sense, and it's frustrating as heck. So it's sometimes about going back, reevaluating, and shuffling the story, adding in heart, soul, flesh, and making it human. And I mean, even though an investor, their language of love is numbers and they're looking for the return, at the same time they are human,
Yep.
and the ways our brains process information and process stories are identical across the board. Some of
Yep.
us are more able to analyze tech and numbers faster,
Yep.
but at the same time stories captivate, and each person's journey. And not only that, they're looking for the human factor, they're looking for a great team. So to hear what set you on your entrepreneurial journey
Yep.
and the problem that you identified that made you leave your cushy 9 to 5 whatever job and go out on this crazy journey that there's no certainty of, is inspiring and shows a lot about you as a person. So they're looking at the three factors all the time of credibility, likability, and momentum.
Yep. Yep.
And all you want to do is present that on a silver platter.
Yeah. So, so you make another great point because the thing I picked up on what you're saying is a lot of times businesses will put a lot of semantics in their pitch, a lot of the
Oh,
technology, a lot of the numbers and dollars. And again, you have to remember that you're pitching to human beings. Like they want to know, how does this affect the person that the problem you're solving? How does this impact the community sometimes,
mhm,
for
mhm,
social good?
mhm.
And, and how does this translate to like jobs or other bigger picture things? I think
Yeah.
that sometimes entrepreneurs forget about, you
Well,
know?
and or it's either they forget about it or they feel like it's not really interesting.
Mhm.
And showing that you truly understand your audience to a degree that you know what they want, what they need, and when you've hit a need, people are willing to pay money for
Yep.
this need. I mean, the founder yesterday, she said that parents now have no alternative for treating their kids. So they are shelling out like 60K a year on therapy that is expensive, time consuming, and requires face to face interaction. So to be able to have something that works, it's like, take my money, please.
Yep.
So if
Yep.
you can get to that point of stickiness that people are so in love with your solution that they are willing to pay for it, that's exactly what investors want to see, because that's going to be disseminating
Right.
throughout the crowds. People are going to want what you're doing because you've created something that is so fully aligned with their needs,
Yep. Yep.
and it starts with them.
Okay, so you also touched on another big point that hits home for me. You talked about that you liked working with women.
I do.
Women are the one category of business that don't get funding as much as men.
Oh, not even
And
close. It's so
and
frustrating.
and so I think a lot of that is, and this is just me, the non-expert saying this, my guess, okay, my best non-expert guess is because women are not as aggressive in putting themselves out there, right? They want to fund it themselves on their credit cards and what have you, okay? Or they shoot themselves down. They
Yeah.
are the ones that prevent themselves from getting those obtainable dollars because they have a great product or a great idea.
I don't think we could put all the onus on us, but I do think that you're hitting on some very important points. So first of all, I co-lead an amazing community called Women Founders Unite. Any women founders out there, please join us, Women Founders Investors. And it's exactly that place of support, of being able to ask
Yep.
questions and then and encourage each other to put yourself out there. So I'll tell you what I see with a lot of women founders, and I don't want to make a generalization, but men have no problem getting in there and tooting their own horn about their accomplishments, even if it's bloated and even if it's visionary and even if it's like what we're aiming towards. Whereas women, we're much more, okay, this is what's here. We have to be very accurate. And I've heard recruiters say women ask for less money significantly
Wow.
than men.
Wow.
And they won't submit resumes if it's not like 100% match, where men will just like, okay, oh yeah, I've done some of that. Oh, just send it and hope for the best. So we need to sometimes let go of our perfection and our like we are getting stuff done, and just put out the big vision. And that's something sometimes we all forget, and men too. Where are we going with this? What is the
Yep.
much bigger vision that we are heading towards? So again, going back to the company yesterday, just because it's fresh in my mind, if this works for autism in pediatrics, it's
That
going
is
to
awesome.
also, they have evidence that it's going to work for depression in youth and anxiety and sleep disorders. So we have something that could potentially change the course of human life, because if we are able to catch these neuro disorders at a young age, their entire course of their life is going to change.
That is fantastic. I love it. I can tell you're very passionate and
Oh,
excited about what you do, and
every
I love
day,
it.
it's just like I get to work with the most brilliant people and help their stories come out. And it's so exciting and so moving and so inspiring to me. And it's an honor to be able to help them tell the story.
Right, right, and see that success follow through. Okay, so do you have, any success stories you wanna share?
Just a few. I mean, my clients have gone into raise. I lose count sometimes, but it's somewhere around $1.3 billion in total. Um, and the thing I love most is like hearing after a session. I got on a call right after our session and I used the storyline and it just worked.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, it worked. And it's not like I am giving them my words. I'm pulling out their words. It's there. It's just sometimes finding it and distilling it and bringing it to them. So people come sometimes and say, I'm not a good presenter. I need to work on my presentation skills. I would say 80% of the time, it's that they don't have a clear message. And that is holding them back from being a great presenter. Because when you're second guessing yourself, then you're umming and you're emming and you're not making eye contact. When you have a clear script and a clear direction, your power is unleashed.
Yeah. What is the biggest mistake that you see when before you start working with people, when you see these pitch decks? What's the biggest mistake that you
I
see?
call it the eye bleed deck. It's like tons of bullets and in small font and skipped all over the place. And I look at it and my eyes just literally feel like they're bleeding. And we can't do that. We have to be so much more concise. You don't get a long time. You have about 30
Yep.
seconds to engage the person that you're speaking to. You miss that, it's going to be very hard to get them back. Our attention spans are at an all-time low. We've got smartphones, we've got devices, we've got a million things in our brain. So you need to be able to hook them right away and then tell a clear storyline. And it's okay to not tell everything. Let
Right.
them ask questions. And I often call it's like a first date.
Yep.
If on your first date you start talking about your entire dating history, where you'd like to get married, how many kids you want to raise, and what school you want them to go to, most likely you're not going to have a second date.
Nope.
So
You're right. It's
just
too much.
just enough intrigue them, woo them, make them want to hear more. Then you can send them the financials and the technical specs, and they'll start due diligence and they'll dig deep into it, believe me. But you want to intrigue them enough that there's going to be a second meeting.
I love that. It's a good metaphor. Okay. So Alexandra. Oh,
Mhm.
Alexandra, ask, and it could be a confidentiality that you have. So, who is the company for neuro autism?
I'm
Uh,
happy. I have to check with her that I can, because they're in such early phases. So
you'll
follow up
be.
with
I'll
me
tag you.
afterwards.
Yeah, I was about to say I'll tag you. You can reach out to them one
I
on
will.
one.
I
Yeah.
will. I purposely didn't say the name because I just want to get her permission.
Yep.
Make sure that we can
Say
publicize it
that.
at this point. It's very, because of FDA and everything, it's very tenuous.
Yep.
So, but I'm happy to offline, Alexandra.
Okay, good. And then we also have a comment from Mary. Mary says, "Hello, Kat. Wonderful time watching both you and Donna. Thank you for watching, Mary.
Thank
Appreciate
you for
it."
being here, Mary.
Yeah. Okay. So, so I can understand the challenge when someone puts a lot of, and I'm just going to say it for what it is, a lot of crap into their PowerPoint, thinking if I try to put as much information in here and cram it, I'm going to get their attention and they're going to give me all the money I
Yes.
want.
Yes. And
Yay!
the absolute opposite happens. Fear creates what we're trying to avoid. And
Yeah.
what a lot of people are afraid of is they're going to either forget something or they're going to look like they don't know what they're talking about. So let's just throw it all up there just to make sure it's in there. And guess what? People cannot take it in. You're competing with your own words. So you're throwing all this up there. They're trying to read it and look at it. You're talking. Our brain has three channels:
Yeah.
visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And if
Mhm.
they are both trying to read something, which is actually the auditory part of the brain, because it's the camera brings it in, but then we decipher it, and they're trying to listen to you, also auditory, guess what? They're not going to even hear you. And there's a reason that you're there and not sending them. I mean, obviously, you're going to send the materials too, and they have to be concise and fast, but can have a bit more text. You don't want to just throw everything up there in a meeting. You're the star of the show. Your company's the star of the show. Demo it, show us, take us on the user journey. Let us understand how something works and what it looks like, and the simplicity and the beauty of your product that you've been working so hard on.
Right, exactly. And okay, so here's a big question, Donna. You ready?
Alrighty, bring it on.
Okay, so let's say you work with an organization, a startup, and you've created this pitch deck, and they are still getting a lot of no's. What happens?
So, look, it's not just about story. The story is important, but it's so many different factors. Having a great story gives you an advantage, but you need to be able to prove that you have a great product, that there's a true need in the market for it, and show that you have traction and people willing to use it, buy it. And it has to be so differentiated from other things out there that you're not going to run into crazy competition. Competition is good. You just need to be able to prove that you're doing it better, faster, executing, getting out there. And also your team has to be great. So I can write a great story, but I can't do it unless I have substance. It's like asking me to make, again, going back to the cooking metaphor, a gourmet meal, and you're handing me an apple, a half-eaten carton of rice from Chinese takeout, and um, some soy sauce, and say, make us a beautiful Chinese dish. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't have enough stuff to work with. I can work my magic, but I need to have the ingredients. And you know what? I've stopped sessions short saying, listen, you guys are not ready for this. I am not going to
Nice.
take your money. I'm not going to waste your time or my time. You're not ready. Go
Yep.
back to the drawing board, do some work, because it's just not gelling.
Yep. Yep.
And I'd rather do that than just try to create something that's not real.
Yeah, so let me help. Also going to throw in a spin to this because I've been in this environment, so I am so tuned into it. Okay, you have to hear no. You have to hear no. You have to hear no over and over and over and over and over. It's just like someone who is has a high batting average. They're not going to get a high batting average if they don't try and miss a lot of hits, right? So the same thing for a pitch deck, and when you're out there putting it in front of people, no should be embraced and it should be your friend. Should be your friend. But as Donna said, you do have to have all the other things to support what you're doing because there are a lot of wonderful companies startups out
Um,
there, a lot of wonderful ones. And don't be discouraged. I'm
yeah.
here to tell people don't be discouraged.
And you know what? Airbnb, when they IPO'd last year, they resurfaced a blog from 2015, if I'm not mistaken, that is just simply titled 7 Rejection Letters. And
Mhm.
all Brian Chesky writes is, if you're hearing no, you're feeling discouraged, remember that, it's like we weren't on. So it's like 7 anonymized emails of like why they are not investing in Airbnb.
Yep.
Get this, for $500,000 when they were at a 1.5
Wow.
million valuation.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
those 7, I'm sure every time that comes out are kicking themselves. Bessemer Ventures does something very cute. They have their anti-portfolio
Yep.
on their of all the deals that they turned down for one reason or another. We're talking deals like Google and
Yep.
Airbnb and all kinds of things. So they can't always see, but that's another thing. If you can help them see into the future and understand what a big potential this has,
Yep.
they're going to be much more likely to join because nobody wants to miss out on the next big Airbnb or Uber or the big companies. And if you can
That's
show them that you have the potential to grow into that, that's
no.
good. That's
And
big.
that's great because you make a great point because let's say hypothetically that Airbnb pitch, let's say 50 companies, right? 50 companies.
I'm sure it was
And
more.
let's say one fourth of them said, nah. But then let's say the five that or the one or five, whoever said yes, I believe in that, you
And
know?
that's all you need. You need that first one
Yep.
even that believes in you, and that starts the ball rolling because once one investor has committed or you have a lead, then others will follow. Either they'll bring it in from their network or you'll be able to say, "Oh, we have a commitment of 40% of our raise already." Ah, well, now you're talking. So it's like they invest in signals as well. So if there's good signals from the market and people that they trust and people that they respect have already put their money, time, name into your company, that's a very good thing to get as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And just to go back to the dating again, I remember dating for way too long. I met my husband when I was 34, and I in one of the times of trying to encourage myself after a bad date, I'm like, you know what? There's probably like some number, magic number somewhere up there that I have to do that many dates and cross them off until I meet the one.
That's right.
And you know what? And then it turns into a game. So let's say there's like a magic number of 122 investor meetings. I hope
Yep.
it's not that many that you have to go through to get the one.
Yep.
That's going to be the one. Thomas Edison and the light bulb. We all know all the
Yep.
attempts and attempts. Imagine he had given up on the final, almost final attempt. We just got to keep going and don't take it personally.
Yes.
If you don't match their vision or their sweet spot or their investment thesis, that's okay. You will match somebody else's and you'll be thanking the skies above that you didn't have the mismatch.
I love that. Those are great words, and I absolutely love that. And if there is a female startup and you're hearing this and you're discouraged or you feel like you don't
Or a
have,
male startup, by the way.
well, I'm saying female. You can say male, but I'm saying female
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
again,
yeah.
I feel like women don't get as much funding, and there's
Absolutely,
a lot of
absolutely.
reasons why. And
Mhm.
we could go on and on. Our guesses, good guesses to it. But there's a lot of also, I think if you look at the statistics, there's more female startups happening now than there ever has been. And, great. Congratulations to us. We should applaud ourselves, right?
And you know what? Don't be afraid to applaud successes, even if it's small successes, even if it's things that are milestones. It's not just about raising the funding. It's not like you're gonna raise your funding and that's it. And people are parades are waiting and stand here. Now the real work begins. That's
Yes.
just a milestone. So there's other milestones on the way to that are much more significant. The raise is a great enabler. Money will enable you to grow and move fast.
Yep.
Super important, but it's not everything. Don't be so hard on yourself. Go for celebrate the wins.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Is there any final thoughts that you want to share in regards to resources you have, things that you're doing that people can participate in? So anything that you want to share with us?
Well, first of all, anybody coming through this podcast that contacts me automatically gets a special Cat Ramirez discount. So please
Yay.
do mention Stand Out and Grow or Cat, and I'm happy to work with you. Also, please feel free to join our community. But I really want to say, look, this has been a crazy year. It feels like they're standing at the corners, handing out checks. It was literally like, okay, who's up today? Just today, 100
I
cake,
wish.
100 cake, go for it. So it feels like you're like everyone's getting it and you're not. You're the only person not getting it. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Don't feel that way. A lot of companies are out there struggling. There's so many different factors happening. There's so many different waves being ridden. Just keep going, keep believing in what you do, keep trying. And don't bring the last bad date into the next date, because then you feel like negative and desperate. Keep it going. Each meeting is a new opportunity. Each meeting is a new date. Each meeting is a so clean slate.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and those are great words of advice. Um, I almost think I should throw my golfing buddy pitch deck to you. Uh,
Mm. Ooh, my God, I love it.
that's another conversation for us,
Love
Donna.
to hear it. Would love
Thank
to.
thank you so much for joining us. I do appreciate it. How do people get a hold of you?
Website, Donna Griffit, no H at the end, .com. You can just reach out and contact me, or Donna at Donna Griffit. And please do use the resource section. There's a lot of great nuggets and goodies in there that are free that can be very helpful.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I think everybody wants to know where you're at.
Where am I at? I'm in
Yeah.
Silicon Valley,
So in the heart of
in the heart
startup.
and soul
Of
of tech. But you know what? It's interesting. These past 2 years have opened up opportunities beyond the borders of
Oh, yeah.
Silicon Valley. And I would not, Silicon Valley is still alive and kicking. I would not say it's dead. But at the same time, I think Silicon Valley is evolving and learning that it can expand its boundaries virtually. And it'll be
Yep.
interesting to see what happens post pandemic. May that day arrive.
Oh, no, absolutely, because I know here in Wisconsin, we have a lot of startups, you know. I think that the pandemic has helped startups and investors understand that there's a lot of creative people all over the US, right? All over, which is awesome. So, no matter where you're at, Donna can help you wherever you might be, you know, and that is because of the blessing of Zoom and all the other wonderful devices out there, right?
Yes, yes. And I think this year has taught us a lot about agility and resilience and going with the flow, and kids bursting into Zooms, and dishwashers and appliance and vacuums running in the background.
Yep, yep,
it's,
yep,
it's it's part of authenticity. It's part of who we are, and it's life. And covering it up is it's just who we are.
yep.
So go out there and be the best you that you can be.
Awesome. And JC, thanks you for being such a trooper. Awesome.
Tropophilia.
I saw that and I
Wow, I
didn't.
don't know what that word is. That's a great word. I'm gonna have to look that up, JC. Tropophilia.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Donna.
Thanks
Until
so much
next
for having
time, I
me.
appreciate it. And we'll come back around with you for his golfing buddy.
Would love it. Would love
Um, so thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. If you have any comments or question and you're catching this on the rebroadcast, please drop your comments below. Reach out to Donna. She is a resource. I think that there are a lot of businesses and startups that could really use her service, and she had a lot of wonderful things to share. So if you're just now catching this at the end, hit replay and catch the beginning. So until next time, you got this.